First and 12. First and 12. A weekly roundup of America's most competitive football conference, the Big 12. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry.
First and 12 rolls on this Wednesday evening. Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry with you. Week 13, Big 12 action coming up this weekend. 7 games. There's 2 teams still on a bye. Hard to believe this late, but let's get to it. The week ahead in Big 12 football.
The week ahead. Matchups that have us the most excited about the week to come in the Big 12.
All right, so here are the games that, of course, are on the docket this week. And man, I love football this time of year. It just means more, as they say down in the SEC.
It's wonderful.
It is awesome to have these games meaning a lot right now. I just want to say a little aside here, okay? The Territorial Cup that Arizona and Arizona State are going to play next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Imagine how much fun it would be right now if there was a one-loss BYU team and a one-loss Utah team who could have potentially been meeting up on the Thanksgiving weekend of 2025.
Goodness.
Because a one-loss Utah team right now and
probably
a one
in the bracket.
And 1,000%.
Yeah.
And a one-loss BYU team who would be right on the cusp would be looking at this thing and going, and you'd have a single-digit ranked Texas Tech, you'd have a single-digit ranked Utah, and you would have a right there at 10, 11-ish for BYU.
Wow.
When implications are what they are. So if there's a question about whether or not this game matters at what point of the year in terms of how big of a game it is, this is it right here. And by the way, this is the second year that Utah is in the Big 12. This is the third year BYU's in the Big 12. And it took them 3 years for BYU, 2 years for Utah to be at the very top, looking at everybody else going, what are you guys going to do to get to this spot here? And I think that it's the argument for being able to say, and by the way, if you're a Utah team and you lose a game against a number 10 BYU, maybe you're on the outside, but then you have more conversation about whether or not you're going to kick out of BYU, kick out of Utah, kick out of Texas Tech from the rankings this time of year. This is why you put big games at the end of your freaking schedule.
That's a great poll because, honestly, I had not thought of that. And that would have been epic to have that. You maybe would say in that
It was already the biggest meeting between the two teams ever this year, and yet it could have been so much more.
It could have been bigger. You know, when you think about that, BYU probably would have been around 15, I bet, with a one loss because the one thing that's lifting them up to 11 is Utah.
Tech.
But
yeah.
But yeah, it makes you wonder if Brett Yormark, Scott Draper are going to look at that going forward because BYU and Utah are emerging as two of the top dogs in this league, and that would be be dynamite.
Now maybe they look at it and they go, "Hey, but having it that time of year, you can make the argument that it could ruin a team that would be getting into the college football playoff by doing that." But again, you're talking about a berth to the conference championship being on the line. We're not talking about necessarily a college football playoff. It's about getting a team into the college football or into the Big 12 championship, and then going from there.
How about this? This is getting way ahead of ourselves. Let me draw this up for you. Hey, if you don't go to the playoff, how about BYU Utah in the Alamo Bowl this year?
Hey, Pac-12's got to. They've got to live up to their contract. Listen, who owns the Alamo Bowl? I'm assuming it's ESPN. They own most bowls, but I don't know.
Valero is what I was going to say.
That's the sponsor, but I don't know who actually owns the bowl rights.
It's on ESPN. Yeah.
Most of the time, ESPN owns these bowls, or ESPN Bowls owns these bowls. If you think those guys aren't thinking about it, you've got another thing coming.
BYU and Utah fans are like, no,
please,
not
no.
that.
Even us who cover this and love this type of attention, like, don't sign me up, please, at this point, especially after the toxicity that's going to happen in the last few weeks of this season, and for sure.
Sign me up for Week 13 Big 12 action, though, and it kicks off with, well, maybe don't sign me up for this game. Kansas at Iowa State.
There's a couple of dogs this week for sure.
10 a.m. on FS1. And then later that morning, Baylor at Arizona, 11 a.m. TNT. So Arizona fans, hey, you're getting a morning game, good weather. Show up for this one. Support this 7-3 Wildcat squad.
I always wonder I'm like, let's see who the TNT game is this week. It's Baylor at Arizona. That's actually a better one than I think we've seen in the past. Kansas State goes to Utah. And it's another team lining up, I think, for the Utes to just knock down again. I mean, Utah knows they know who they are. They know what their identity is. No one's going to question. They're not going to have a different game plan. Good luck trying to stop Devin Dampier and Bird Ficklin and that running offense, who now averages 290 yards on the ground a game. Like, that's got to be the best that Utah's ever done. Maybe maybe back in the day when nobody threw the ball forward, maybe there'd be a different deal. But Utah having this type of a ground game, they were 128 yards a game last year at this point. They are way above. They were like 90th in the country at this point last year in their running offense. And Jason Beck, if you would have told him, hey, by the way, you were a quarterback in college, you'll never be throwing the ball again the rest of your time at Utah. He might be signing himself up for this is what you get at quarterback for the rest of what he does in his career.
First ever meeting between Kansas State and Utah in the preseason. The projections for this game were pretty much a toss-up. Now Utah is a landslide favorite. We'll see how if Utah can take care of business at 2 p.m. on ESPN2.
I'm not a Vegas guy. Sorry. What's the actual line though?
16.5, I believe.
It is. I'm actually shocked it's not in the 20s.
Yes, it's a big one in favor of the Utes. TCU at number 23, Houston, 2 p.m. on Fox. Another, and I brought this up with Arizona. Hey, Houston fans, show up. I don't want to see social media posts about an empty TD ECU stadium. That's a weird name, by the way, too.
Is that what it is? Ooh.
But Houston, show up. Like, you got a nationally ranked team, 8-2. This is a spot to go hammer an in-state foe against TCU who's down and out. This is a great spot for Houston. I want to see Houston fans show up.
Yeah, it's a weird thing for us to be talking about an 8-2 Houston team. That's the biggest shock in the conference this year, right? I mean, you wouldn't be too hard pressed to say, "Hey, man, Utah could have a big turnaround this year and be at the top of the conference after being 2-7 in conference play last year." No, we knew that they would be kind of back to where they are. But Houston is the biggest surprise in the conference, so why don't you surprise us, Houston, and show up to the game this week? Oklahoma State goes to UCF.
Oh my gosh!
I told you, good luck.
ESPN Plus.
Whoever's got that call on ESPN Plus, like you need to maybe consider another line of work because your boss doesn't like you. Your boss does not love you.
Hey, the thing is though, UCF, they got bowl eligibility on the line.
Oh.
They're 4-6.
Yeah, win their last 2 games, including one against BYU, yeah.
You got that if you're Scott Frost to motivate these guys. And as far as Coach Meacham at interim coach, I don't know what he tells Oklahoma State to keep them inspired. Maybe we see Haas Haney finally. Maybe.
Oh, boy.
The week one sensation of Haas Haney?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Hey, this one is the big one. One of the big ones. This is the big one of the week, I think, obviously, because it's got so much implication to it. And Big Noon Kickoff again showing up at the Big 12.
I was stunned by that.
I was too. I was like, all right. At some point, I was like, all right, stop. Like, you don't need to keep. And then Dave Portnoy calling himself Provo Dave this week and standing up for BYU and the Mormons, as he put it. Come on. That's a great way to put it. You do love the attention, and it's going to be that 6 p.m. kick on Fox. And so you're going to have the eyeballs that you didn't have last week. An 8:15 kickoff, you had so many predictors who were like, and BYU is playing TCU. Like, I saw even the next day, nobody even bothered to update their stories on their college football bowl predictions, on their ranking predictions, because they didn't stay up past 11:30 Eastern. It was so dumb. And so it's at least going to get a few extra eyeballs there. That one's going to be on Fox, and then this one ends out the day as well. Hey, we're going to have early out this week.
We will. And you know what's a funny tidbit about BYU and Cincinnati? So BYU prides itself on being the vampire Cougs because they play great at night. Even Tanner Wall last week said that's their bread and butter, playing at 8 p.m., which will be an 8 p.m. Eastern kick. Cincinnati did not know this. They are the pioneers of night games in college football. They had it in their game notes. First ever college football night game at Nippert Stadium, 1923.
Look at that.
I had no idea.
I bet somebody had to. I mean, you had to put up a lot of scratch back in the day to put electric lights in.
I was kind of blown away that there was a night game in the 20s when I saw that.
I would imagine, too, people, they were like, oh, well, I'm not going to that game. You know, those vapors that are coming off of those lights, that magical, we don't deal with this, that magical electricity. Satan himself brings that football game. This game is meant to be played during the day with the sun out under the good Lord's sunshine. Come on.
See, play that game under the sun, see?
I heard we have the late kickoff this week.
Those boys, those Mormons from BYU, they rough tug a team.
I love the idea of firing up. You thought your lights took a long time to turn on in your middle school gym? Those lights must have been awful to wait through.
See, Scott Satterfield and Kalani's, I don't know what that name is. What is that?
Kalani Sit-Take.
What is this?
Kalani's C-Tech. Buys this week, Texas Tech and West Virginia, so you can enjoy a weird bye in the penultimate week of the regular season.
I wanted to work in the word penultimate to the show today. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Our final predictions of some of those games from this week coming right up right here on 1st and 12. It's KSL News Radio.